the system.
We're back again. We're back again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another great episode of Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. Of course, for some reason, after 4 years, I keep on doing this, and I'm going to have to remind you guys, if you do not know who in the blue hell I am, then I suggest you go back to school or go into your local library, get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Of course, guys, it is I, the Phenomenal One. Welcome all to another episode of same crazy week in the world of professional wrestling. A lot has taken place. A lot has happened. And of course, on a Saturday like this, we get to rewind, we get to unbreak, and chisel down at every single key detail that has taken place since last week's historic Royal Rumble into Friday Night SmackDown last night. But before I go ahead and even get started with that kind of stuff, I have a couple of introductions to make. Now, guys, of course, the first person that I get to introduce here on Same is the one and only limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun, who is not having a hard time holding his alligators down. Guys, that is my comrade, my brother from another mother, and I mentioned, guys, give me 2 claps and a peep snake.
Woo!
There we go.
Back again on another Saturday afternoon. If you're in the Northeast, it's pretty much the frozen tundra. So what we're going to do is try to keep you warm as we give you another 3 tenets to put into the fireplace to keep everything going. And those 3 tenets that you need to stay warm are laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. Continuing every Saturday. Let's go.
Indeed. But guys, our other co-host, pristine indeed, genuinely a great guy. Ladies, get at him. But the reality is, if you need humor on a great Saturday afternoon, if you need perfect rants, if you need attention to detail when it comes to the world of professional wrestling, I suggest you get your cellular device, go into the phone app, and type in the numbers 411. Ladies and gentlemen, our third co-host, the one and only Mr. Christopher Morton, known today as Raheem, but Mr. 411.
Yo, shout out the real Raheem.
This is going to be one of those shows, folks.
Good to be here on a Saturday. Last week's watch party. You guys joining us, we appreciate you because it was live. Not only was it live on Saturday Afternoon's Main Event, but it was popping off on TikTok with Uncle Triple C. So we had so many people joining us, and we hope you return this week to see what we do and deliver the greatest wrestling news possible.
Yes.
Absolutely. But with that being said, I feel like it's only right that we go ahead and get into the show today ASAP. Guys, when you hear this sound, it means it's time for one thing and one thing only here on Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. It's time for 3 Rope Talk. Look, we're not wasting no time. Royal Rumble review. What a show. What a show. We started off with the Women's Royal Rumble. Then we etched into AJ Styles retiring against Gunther. Then it was Drew McIntyre retaining against Sami Zayn. And then the Men's Royal Rumble. But, of course, before we get to the Men's Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble. Liv Morgan, finally, after 9 attempts and 9 entrances into the Women's Rumble throughout the years, Liv Morgan finally cashes and punches her ticket to the show of shows, the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania. Lastly, defeating Tiffany Stratton, who defeated one Iron Woman in Sol Ruka.
Yes.
But, look, let's go ahead and start it here. Chris, how did you feel about the Women's Rumble? How did you feel about the person going over?
No, Liv makes sense. I mean, it's hard to argue anybody above her. I mean, Tiffany, you could have said that, but there's a way always for Tiffany to get back in the title picture. She didn't need that moment. So Liv needed the moment, and it was big for her. And I was thinking about her career. as you look back, I remember watching her in NXT, and Corey Graves used to always make fun of her because she was from New Jersey. It's a horrible place, all this other stuff. And I remember watching her then and thinking, how far could she go? I wasn't sure if she had it. I didn't know. It was kind of like, it was a mixed bag. She had a good look, but she has turned into, without a doubt, one of the best heels and the best must-see people. Like the things her facial expressions, the things she does and says, you want to see her. And kudos to her and being in this position. And clearly, upper management agrees with us.
I agree. Peeps.
I thoroughly enjoyed the Women's Rumble. I think there were a lot of hiccups that were involved in that Women's Rumble. One of the things that I've always liked about the Royal Rumble, probably more so than any other event, is that it lends itself to having Chiron on the bottom of the screen with stats, who's been eliminated, time in the match, those kinds of things. But there were some weird botches that happened just from that part of the presentation. Like a lot of people were paying attention. There was a 31st entrant that was supposed to go in that was shown on there, which was an accident. There were a couple of names that were shown at the wrong time. Those kinds of things happen. It happens. It goes to show you it's a moving event. So you had to deal with that. As far as Liv going over, makes perfect sense. One, they were in Saudi, and we know based on the last event that we saw, which was the King and Queen of the Ring, we know that Liv Morgan won the Queen of the Ring a couple of times ago after Stephanie Vaquera won the last time. So in that sense, I think that her winning in Saudi was one of the things that actually helped out as far as with the promotion and getting everything over. Storyline wise, she deserves to main event WrestleMania based on what she's done over the last year and change. Coming back from injury to be the face of the Judgment Day, even with her interaction with Dominic Mysterio. And I think those are the kinds of things that are there. The other thing that I was really impressed with were some of the entrants that showed out. Sol Ruka being the Iron Woman, so to speak, next to Charlotte Flair, who was there from number 1 and lasted as long as she did. Lash Legend eliminating 5 people with the most eliminations in that Women's Rumble. So, yeah, there were a lot of good, positive things that came out of that Rumble that I really enjoyed.
So, real quick, as you see, my new name just popped up on the screen. I don't remember everything. No, that was later on in the show. Sorry. You know what? I remember. I mean, it was a rough day for Mr. 411.
Yes.
We just indulged in this drink called Cutwater that you guys need to stay away from because, like Mama said, it's the devil. It's for the devil. It's for the devil. Yeah. So
it's the devil, baby. You got to be strong of the will, if you will, my putty.
Seems like when Mr. 411 had hard times.
Yeah, no, you guys, listen, I want to apologize to the audience. I don't want to pull an ECW crucifix apology here, but I know I said some things and did some things during the show. I don't even know. I don't remember half of it.
Chris, so, it's okay, bud. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Okay,
it's
real
okay.
quick, serious matter before we get into the rest of the show itself. Let's talk about briefly the attendance and the surprise of going, what? There are empty seats? What the hell? What did you think the first time you saw it?
So, of course, it seemed like there were scalpers who got into, like, the whole thing within, buying tickets from, from the Royal Rumble and putting them up at major prices. But from what it looked like, to us on screen, nobody was in attendance. But as photos began to trickle out throughout the rest of the week, it seemed as if there was a good attendance of people at the Royal Rumble. It was just that, I guess, lighting, the way that the show was structured, the way that the seats were structured, and the lights that they kind of had that would be similar to what it was at the Intuit Dome when it came down to Raw and Money in the Bank in Los Angeles, California. It seemed like the lighting rigs that were right next to the seats caught more of the effect than seeing the people that were in the crowd.
Right.
So I feel that on WWE's part, they have to do better in structuring that, because to a lot of fans, it looked to us as if Rumble was empty.
Yes.
And I really sat there like, what's in store for Mania then if that's the case?
Yeah.
I would hope that doesn't happen.
It looked very similar to SmackDown the night before because we had the same kinds of visuals from SmackDown when we watched it that was in Saudi Arabia as well.
Indeed. And I feel that if they want to make a difference, it would have to be with different shows. But again, come WrestleMania next year, I would hope that things are different, which I would think that it will only come down to lighting. But I have to say, guys, Rumble tickets this year for Saudi Arabian fans, I have to say, that's a good number. What? Back nosebleeds would be $25 and ringside would be $300?
Yeah.
When you convert it to American US currency? Mm-hmm. If it comes down to it, if the price to travel there wasn't enough, it seems like WWE fans domestically would probably travel to Saudi Arabia. Do you guys think that? Peeps.
I'm not sure about that. As horribly as they were booed every time they reference anything Saudi Arabian, I don't think that would be the case. But the one thing that I will say is that looking at how this happened, I think the WWE came out and said that they definitely probably will not be doing the Royal Rumble in Saudi next year. There's not one of those run it back kind of things, unless at the last second they change their mind. I think the thought process is to bring it into an American stadium, to have a big crowd, to do what they've done. And I brought this up to my partner earlier, and we talked on the phone for about maybe 25 minutes and talk about the Royal Rumble. Should the Rumble, of all of the premium live events that the WWE as they do, I'll ask you, Chris, do you think it would make more sense to make this event a two-nighter or keep it as a one-nighter and keep the card short?
By the way, kudos for you coming out. I didn't know you were talking about your partner. So, with all inclusion here, everyone's accepted. So, I would say keep it one night. I think that we don't need 2 nights for every show. I know they're in discussion of doing that. So let's just keep it simple. One night.
I feel like Chris only shortened his answer because he was astonished that I was still kind of like taken aback by his joke.
Yeah.
I would go to Saudi because I'm sure you take all that stuff off. There's some fine ass bitches there too. So I'm dabbling.
Oh Lord.
Let's go.
Man. Are you sure the cut water is still in your system right now?
It has to be, right?
It doesn't leave. It doesn't leave. It's like herpes.
This is Saturday afternoon's main event, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I had a phenomenal one alongside me. The Peeps Nation. Down below is the ultimate jokester himself, Mr. 411. We're here to give you last good times on our wrestling news possible. As we move on from the Women's Royal Rumble review, we'll go ahead and move into the next match. Of course, Gunther, AJ Styles, career threatening. If AJ were to lose, he would be forced to retire. And that is exactly what we saw happen. My thing is, I even said this on the show when we did the watch party last week. The fact that you make AJ look even more believable by not submitting or tapping out to Gunther, but you have John Cena tap out to Gunther at Saturday night's main event last year in December, what's the meaning behind that? But I think we all know that Gunther is officially the career killer, okay? Yes. It's going to happen with multiple other people. I expect this to be the same case for Brock Lesnar. I expect this to be the case for Rey Mysterio down the line, which seems like that's where it's heading. In all duality, Gunther is at the top of his game right now. I can't even go ahead and say much to that. Even on Raw, it was so believable that he really choked the hell out of Dragon Lee to the point where Dragon Lee looked like he was hanging from the ring ropes.
Yes.
To the point that Gunther dropped him.
No, wait. What's next for Gunther? Do they WrestleMania? Does he retire someone else at WrestleMania?
I feel that maybe that's going to be the case, and I think that that's going to be Rey. I feel that that's where they're probably going to be going. In all reality, I feel like that wouldn't be the best case because I always thought that the only person that should retire Rey Mysterio is Dominic Mysterio. And I think that Uncle Triple C, if he's watching, he'll probably be attesting to this as well, that the deadbeat needs to go ahead and lose to his own son. But again, it's either Rey or Brock. And I think we all think that Brock is going to retire in Minneapolis in his hometown at SummerSlam later this year. So, in all honesty, I think all signs lead to Rey as for now. But when it comes down to AJ Styles, it's the end of a career. 20.
Is it though? Is it? We've heard that he's only retiring here.
And I feel like it's, and it's funny because Corey Richmond chimed in. He said something along the lines of, did AJ's appearance on Stephanie's podcast convince you that he's really retired? And I don't know if you watched it, Chris, or Peeps, but when he was on the podcast, he got a couple of thank you videos from the likes of Roman Reigns, individuals like, who else can I possibly say?
I think John Cena also gave him one.
Cena
too,
also
if I'm
said
not
something.
mistaken.
Exactly. And not only that, his wife had a heartfelt message that was given to Stephanie for Stephanie to go ahead and recite towards AJ as he was currently on the show. And from what it entailed, even towards the ending where Wendy even said, and I quote, you always wanted to go ahead and swing for the fences, and you did. Come home. The phenomenal moments are just beginning. And for me, I sat there and I looked at that and I was like, it's the end of a career. I felt like that was even more convincing than the match that he had with Gunther. And that really, for me, made the solid viewpoint that AJ's done. And if it is genuinely the case, as from what the IWC keeps viewing, because a whole lot of shills are thinking that he's going to be going to AEW, where the best wrestle, just for him to have a career killer match against, who knows, Speedball Mike Bailey, and he breaks his forearm, and then what's next? Look, for me, AJ's done. Again, he's done. I feel that he's done, and with him being done, I alongside Peeps, alongside Chris, as individuals who've seen the rise of AJ Styles in through TNA, New Japan, Ring of Honor, straight into WWE.
I mean, anything. That's what people were speculating. I don't think it was also much AEW. It was a speculation of him doing another run in New Japan or another run in TNA. I hadn't heard anything about AEW, but maybe a quick run, just a goodbye, maybe a final match in each company before he actually hung it up. AEW, I don't think was even in the conversation.
Well, even within that sense, we all kind of thought that TNA was the end all be all, right? Because of the face-off that he had with Frankie Kazarian at the opening TNA episode on AMC this past 3 weeks ago. So, of course, we all kind of sat there and said, hey, AJ Styles to TNA? Just for a one-off run, why not? But I feel like genuinely after Wendy's message, I feel like it's over. I feel like he feels as if he doesn't want to continue, even though he said within the Steph podcast interview, he said never say never. And I think that's a line that goes for a lot of wrestlers when they usually go ahead and say the lines never say never. We can see them down the line. I feel that maybe AJ Styles does make a return. Maybe AJ Styles does show up on TNA. It should happen. It would probably happen. I feel that it's just that now constantly wrestling is off the list for AJ Styles.
Yeah. He's more of the special attraction, so to speak.
Indeed.
I can see him having a one-off match in TNA, which makes sense, especially with the WWE's relationship with TNA. I can see that on some level. Yes.
It would have to be against Kazarian. That would be
exactly. That's the only person that I can see him get. The only other person that I can see him getting into the ring with would be Leon Slater. And the reason why I say that is it would kind of be a bridge between the old and the new of AJ officially passing the torch of what kind of a wrestler he is. Because Leon Slater is right now what AJ was 20 years ago. And it's going to just only go higher from there. So I think that if you're going to have those two matches, that's the only thing that makes sense. I don't see an AEW run at all.
No.
Okay. But with that being said, we move on from that. WWE title match. Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, of course. It seems like he's gonna have a good time with this one.
Oh, take it out. You suck. Listen, I'm not the only one saying it. Everyone, the majority of the IWC is sick of Sami Zayn. Doesn't feel he belongs in any of this picture. Listen, the whole run with the bloodline, that's a long time ago. This is not the same guy people care about. It's over. So I'm happy for Drew. I think we're going to talk about the title picture upcoming, right? So I'm not going to mention anything about Drew right now. So we can. Indeed. I mean, Nate, what do you think?
I think, although I don't think it's necessarily quote unquote over for Sami Zayn. I just think that this puts it on the back burner. I think on some level, I think they would like to have that storyline of Sami Zayn winning the WWE Championship at some point. It's not. It's. I understand.
I need a shower.
You know, it's what the I think the last story to be told as far as Sami Zayn goes. He's pretty much won every title in that company except a world title or a heavyweight championship. And I think that the story for Sami Zayn, based on the fact that he's been in the company for a decade, based on the fact that he's been reliable and he's gone and evolved his character enough, is he on the same wavelength as, say, an AJ or a Roman Reigns? Of course not. But I think you can get that same kind of story that they did with Mick Foley, as far as this baby boy has won his first championship and it's a short run, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
So
Okay,
put it on the back burner.
Why don't we put it on Tozawa? He's been there that long too.
Akira to I digress. First one.
There you go.
Let's just move on. But Royal Rumble review for the men's Rumble, of course. Roman Reigns. Put the ones up, ladies and gentlemen. Roman Reigns wins the men's Royal Rumble for the second time in his career. Punches his ticket to WrestleMania 42, outlasting 29 other competitors, including a debuting Royce Keys. So I just have to say, before we go ahead and talk about Roman, which we will talk about later within the show, I just want to talk about Royce Keys here. Perfect production and introduction, the way that they kind of had Powerhouse Hobbs kind of show up on the stage screens, and then they kind of like broke down the brick and mortar just for them to reveal that his name from Powerhouse Hobbs is going to be Royce Keys, and he comes out the way. But although I have to say, of course, Saudi Arabian fans don't know a gosh darn thing about AEW, so of course the reception wasn't as loud as we thought it would be if it were domestically. But all in all, I have to say that it's great to see Royce Keys on the WWE roster. But Chris brought up a very good statement right before the show, and I think that was our mindset all together collectively, even though we didn't talk about it at all this week. But the reality is that Royce Keys doesn't show up on Raw nor SmackDown. What's the issue with that? Chris, I'll let you take over this part.
Yeah, it's just a bad job of booking. I mean, when we talk about guys entering a company and old school booking, Nate, as we can attest to it and have seen the history, get the guy out there, get him a win, let him cut a quick promo after the win, say he's arrived. Anything simple to build a guy up. And we talk about Trick Williams and how he was off TV for so long and not in limbo, and then they finally bring him in and they had to have an angle for him. Why does everyone need an angle? Just bring him out there, let him beat people up, show everyone who he is. This is just like, and we've seen it from Unreal and their booking meetings and the stuff they come up with. I feel like anyone could do as good a job, if not better, than the people in that room from what we have seen on that show. It is really frustrating sometimes. And then we talked about pre-show also that apparently stuff has come out on the internet. Who knows? Grain of salt, whatever. That Royce Keys was apparently offered as much money from Tony Khan as the majority of the high-level guys there. So we're talking over $1 million to stay, and he still chose to leave.
Yes.
Which should just tell you something about, within company lines where they just feel as if they would probably be treated elsewhere better. Of course, that remains to be shown for Royce Keys, although we've seen with a lot of the former AEW talent that has moved over to the WWE, whether they are in NXT or on the main roster, they have found success. So the real question is, do we see success with Royce Keys later on within his career within the WWE? Does he win main event gold? Does he go ahead and win main card gold? Does he go ahead and choose to be within mid-card title, choices? Whatever the case may be, I would just want to see the best for Royce Keys.
Yeah, I think that if you're looking at it from how this was booked, is to piggyback off of Chris's point. When you're booking a monster, like you said, the production in the Rumble to that degree when they revealed him was great. And then they teased him and Brock in the ring. they teased him and Oba in the ring. So Oba got the same push that we were expecting as far as what they were going to do with Royce Keys, as far as getting him out there on television. For those that watch Raw, Obafemi came out there and literally single-handedly destroyed, literally destroyed the War Raiders by himself, just to show you who he was. That's something that they should have done with Royce Keys. Also, the other thing that has to be talked about within this Royal Rumble is that the way that they booked as far as some of the cameras.
People are waiting for you to join in, man.
Yes. As far as what we saw with how some of the camera cuts and some of the things that happened. Now, there was a spot that Chris and you and guys, when you were on your stream, you were wondering what had happened to Brock. Brock got eliminated by LA Knight and Cody Rhodes. Double clothesline over the top rope. You know when that happened? During Jey Uso's Yeet experiments.
No way. We missed.
So, it was while Jey was coming out through the crowd.
Yep.
And he was taking his long sabbatical entrance. That literally the camera cuts to Brock Lesnar outside of the ring. And
he was flipping over the top rope as the camera panned over. And I went, wait a minute. Yes.
I'm sorry. I was 2 cans of cut water in at that point. So I had no idea what was going on. And I did not hear about this at all during the week. So you're breaking that news to me. That's crazy.
Yes. As he was coming down the aisle and going through the crowd and yeeting with everybody, LA Knight and Cody were punching on Brock. And then they double clotheslined him over the top. And he went over the top, hit the railing, and then went to the floor and then looked incredulous as he's staring up. Wow. That's how he got eliminated. By the time the camera came back, Brock was already on the floor. So that was an awful job of catching that, because if Brock is going to be in the Rumble.
Excuse me. We put over Lee Fitting, right? And what's going on lately? There's been a lot of miscues.
Yes.
Indeed,
yes.
Indeed. But all in all, I have to say it was a pretty good Rumble from our perspective when it came down to the certain things that happened that we called. But Roman going ahead and being the individual that went over, being our pick, he won. So what that ties into, what will happen from there, we will talk about later on in this episode. But that is our Royal Rumble review, guys. We move on from there to our next piece of wrestling news in the world of WWE. What's in store for the WWE title? Of course, also something that happened at the Royal Rumble, Cody ends up getting eliminated because of an interference from Drew McIntyre. Right. Cody then takes to SmackDown last night, ends up going ahead and he ends up talking about that, says how Drew isn't going to make it, as champion into WrestleMania, all these different types of other things. It seems like Cody's really about to enter into this match. It's going to happen. But of course, I think the one thing that everybody knows about when it comes down to Cody Rhodes' appearance last night on SmackDown is him talking about the war of words between CM Punk and Roman Reigns that happened on Raw this past Monday, as the main event segment of the show. But
yes,
he ends up saying that, everybody thought it was going to be a you-know-what measuring contest, but you know what? I know they're glad that I'm not in it because I didn't get the nickname Raheem for no reason.
Yo, the best part about that is the reaction of the fans. They all in unison were like, whoa!
Yes. Yes.
Now I see why Brandy went for baby number 2. Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen. But in all reality, we're now sitting here and we're now trying to guess what's going to happen with the WWE title. I think all eyes are pointing towards a triple threat, which Chris remarks as lazy booking always and forever.
Okay, wait. If it's done correctly, there are exceptions to the rule. Again, with these tournament matches that we're having right now for Elimination Chamber, these 3 ways, waste of time. I don't care about them. But I will care about a triple threat if it makes sense. If it's 3 people that legitimately hate each other and you can build it, I'm all for it.
Like the main event from WrestleMania last year. That made sense based on who was in it.
Now, I know we always talk about the triple threat being lazy booking. But I was thinking something as well, because it seems like we're on a collision course when it comes down to Drew McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, and Cody Rhodes. Now, if they all 3 legitimately hate each other, and you have that triple threat match, it would make sense. But now what happens with the Elimination Chamber? If Jacob Fatu or Cody Rhodes doesn't come out the winner, you would implement a fatal four-way. I would only possibly think, right? But now who would you add to that fatal four-way? A lot of odds are pointing towards Randy Orton. Chris, do you think that this is a possibility?
Well, listen, with the Cody story, and we've always talked about him turning on Cody, right, at some point. So that would, and then maybe Randy leaves WrestleMania as champ, because we had talked about him winning that one more title, right? So this would make more sense for him to turn on Cody at Mania in that four-way match, if they were ever to do such a thing.
Yes.
Okay, peeps. Since Chris has answered that question, I'm going to ask you this question just before we go ahead and move into the next topic. Now, do you feel that a fatal four would make more sense than the triple threat? Do you feel that it would point more eyes towards the match? What are your thoughts?
There are more combustible elements involved that would make a four-way make more sense than a three-way. We all know all three of the proponents that would be in this match, they have issues with each other. Drew has pulled some old school territory type of heat as far as building intrigue in his feud with Cody. Cody is playing up the fight from underneath face to the hilt. They haven't started booing him the way that they would have in previous years. So they are still there with him. And Jacob Fatu just brings that extra element that they need that freshens this whole feud up. The extra wild antics and everything that they've been doing to build Jacob Fatu, especially since he'd been out so long with the injury. And then you bring him back in, and now you have Orton, who probably should be main eventing a WrestleMania at some point. And he has been showing you little nuggets and dropping little crumbs about what he wants to do or what he's planning on doing. The interviews that he's done with Cody, where he's staring at the belt instead of staring at Cody, telling you, if I have to get into a match with you, I'm going to go through you. We're not going to be friends. So in that sense, it would literally be like Orton, the thief in the night, coming in and taking the belt.
I just had a crazy thought. We talk about Gunther retiring everybody, right? Whether it's going to be Ray coming up, and then maybe people have even said Randy Orton, right?
Randy as well, yeah.
What if at some point in 26, if not late 26, we get a Gunther versus Randy Orton title versus career match?
That would be perfect. That would definitely be perfect.
Just for Gunther to end up winning and holding the WWE title, I wouldn't be mad at that. I really wouldn't be mad at that.
Yes.
There's got to be a culmination to this angle, right? Of him retiring people. He's got to get the belt at some point again. Oh, by the way, ladies, Morton's Law Podcast, DM me. I'm into 3-ways and 4-ways. I'm good at
which is another word which starts with meaning or. I digress. Guys, we're going to move on to AEW here. And it is a Tommaso Ciampa who leaves WWE, shows up in AEW last week, ends up going ahead and facing Mark Briscoe on Collision, which was right after the Rumble for the TNT title, and Tommaso Ciampa ends up winning. Takes home TNT gold for himself within his first couple of days in AEW. How do we feel about
Goldie?
Which funny, he calls it now Sylvie.
Yes.
Cool stuff. But I have to ask, guys, how do we feel about the presentation of Tommaso Ciampa early within his, upbringing in AEW as of right now? Where do we feel that it goes? Are we hoping for the best? Chris, we'll start with you.
Okay, so we talk about the guys when they come over from WWE and how they're presented on AEW television. It's mostly been the case where they get a good push right out of the gate, right, at some point, versus other guys that come over from other companies, whether it be Japan or Mexico, and Tony beats them into the ground sometimes, so they lose for a while. Like, look at Briscoe, right? Look at Briscoe's run before ever becoming TNT champion. The guy lost so many matches early on, and you're like, why would Tony do that to that guy? But he seems to have the favor of all the WWE guys that come over. Now, granted, Tommaso's been around the block. He's not just a WWE guy. Ring of Honor, Independence for many years, and a cup of coffee in TNA, you name it, he's done everything, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about how he was utilized in WWE since being called up to the main roster. Now, granted, he and Johnny won the tag titles at some point, right? They had a little run, but they never were able to regain that mystique that they had in NXT with the two and the fan reaction. The fan reaction was never the same on the main roster. So I don't know, we talk about Ciampa's injury history, right? What does he have left? Right now, he looks really good. I can't hate on what Tony did bringing him in, but if you're another AEW guy, how do you feel about what Tony did? Nate?
Yeah.
It's interesting in how the presentation was, because first and foremost, they gave him a really good theme track to come to the ring with.
Yes.
That song that he came to the ring with it got everybody up on their feet.
Wait, what's the song? I didn't hear it.
I think it's called My Shadow Knows. I think it's what it's called.
Yeah, My Shadow Knows.
Shadow Knows.
It's a regular song?
It's a song that was created specifically for Ciampa. And if I'm not mistaken,
I thought it was.
It's an original track just for him.
Okay, all right.
And I believe it was produced by Mikey Ruckus, but also there was the vocals from another group that I can't remember. He did another theme track for somebody. But offhand, that theme works really well. Second of all, he talked about how he wanted to bring that psycho killer persona that he had when he was in Ring of Honor to WWE, knew he couldn't really get it over because he wasn't really given that opportunity. So he had to stay within what he could do and get himself over the best way he could. Now, he was in WWE for a decade. And for him to do that, and the majority of his tenure in WWE was in NXT. And I do remember him saying, I don't know if it was just him saying it because he wanted to sound like the company guy or he legitimately felt that way, that he never wanted to leave NXT. Yeah. And we saw what I think was the beginning of the end for Ciampa, is the fact that he wanted to have the same feud that he had with Johnny Gargano on the main roster, and it never really materialized. Yeah. And I think if Triple H or Shawn Michaels could try and get that up to the main roster and give it the same kind of emotion, that might have changed a lot of eyes as far as what they would have done with Ciampa, but it just didn't happen. And they were able to then bring in DIY, have a short tag team run with the Motor City Machine Guns, which kind of helped stretch that out. But eventually, I think he just hit the wall while he was in WWE. He wanted to do something different. I don't blame him. AEW was calling. They offered him, I don't know how much money, but what it was the opportunity to showcase what he could do away from the WWE fans and the WWE machine. And even though it's one match in, he looked pretty good as far as his match with Briscoe, winning the TNT Championship. And we'll see how they promote him going forward.
We never question his work. His work is always solid. It's just about how healthy he can stay. And again, working that AEW style, does he start doing stuff that most people shouldn't be doing? Does he end up injured again?
Another wrestler that has had a really bad neck. Right, so that's something that you really have to look into with all of the wrestlers that are in AEW right now that are coming off of or recovering from neck injuries. We know Adam Copeland had a neck injury. We know that Ospreay is coming back soon from You broke my neck, bro. So he's got to come back from that. We'll see how it happens. And I'm looking forward for good things are happening with him.
I agree. Well, with that being said, we move now towards back to the world of WWE. We're going to talk Big E real quick. Big E has finally officially marked his retirement, saying that he is gone for now. He has been wrestling within the WWE, of course, since territory, development within the FCW since he was 23. Said that he has had a whole ton of tumultuous moments in his career, but of course, due to the injuries and stuff like that, and being that he just wants to go ahead and at least stay healthy and be okay, he is going to retire from the sport of professional wrestling.
Opportunity missed, man. They should have had him one more match against Gunther. Retire him.
Oh, man. Yes, Chris always thinking about it.
Only Chris, man. Only Chris.
But you think about that, though. That is crazy. It's been almost 4 years since he broke his neck on SmackDown. Since March of 2022, that the unfortunate break in his neck. And we can only imagine what other kinds of matches he could have had he not had the unfortunate injury that he had to his neck.
And he was starting to get a singles push too, right? At the point.
Yes.
Right.
So it's
unfortunate.
And the thing is, they kind of left it so that they might, in case he was healthy enough to come back, when we saw how the New Day kind of dumped on him as they turned heel. It looked like money on the table that they left there. But He's not able to continue physically. So maybe there's a payoff somewhere, maybe not in the ring, but at some point, we'll see where that goes from there. But I think Big E, tremendous career, tremendous talent. We're happy in his future endeavors. He's got a huge role in WWE now, doing the pre-shows and doing interviews and being an ambassador to the company. So we hope that works out for him.
Did he ever win singles gold?
Yeah,
you forgot he was WWE champion when he won
Chris,
the WWE championship.
You remember Brock beat him at day one?
Mm-hmm.
Cut order.
There you go. He's still feeling the residuals. That's what it is.
No, it was kind of, I'll be honest with you, it was kind of in the back of my head that he won the title. I just wasn't sure.
Yes. The only person that didn't win the WWE championship out of that entire group was
Xavier Woods.
Yes, Xavier Woods, yeah. So
hey, but he won Page's. I digress. Let me stop. I won't do this, guys.
Ski.
Ski. Let me stop. Okay, look. Anyway, let's move to the last piece of news here on Three Rope Talk, guys. This is pretty sad, but we're just going to go ahead and send a good message to this individual. It refers to WWE referee Asia Smith. Over the week, we got news over the IWC that Asia Smith out here in Atlanta had to go ahead and share that she lost 4 family members in a house fire out here in ATL. Yes. And that she was at the scene till the very end. She had cousins who ran back in to at least try to save other people, other portions of the family, and they weren't able to. And that a family of 7 now with 5 kids are now displaced with nothing to their name. And she went ahead and put out a GoFundMe, which has even surpassed the goal, with certain wrestlers even going ahead and donating, from the likes of Bayley to Liv Morgan, and so on and so forth. But of course, definitely sad. And it is a heartfelt personal tragedy, and we just hope the best for her. Prayers to her and her family, and condolences to all those who ended up losing somebody within that fire itself. Yeah,
for those that don't know who Asia Smith is, she is a referee that goes by the name of Daphne LaShawn, who herself was a wrestler before she became a referee. She has not had a really good year. She was in a car accident just a couple of weeks
ago.
Just not that long ago.
Yep.
So she has had a run of really unfortunate things happen to her and her family. And when you say you lose your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncle, and a cousin, and that family member, the cousin, has, I believe, 7 children, that's tough. Yeah. So our thoughts and prayers go to her, and hopefully everything will then work itself out in the long run. And hopefully she'll be strong through this.
Indeed. But guys, that marks the end of Three Rope Talk here on Saturday afternoon's main event. You want to keep up with all the latest social media news and updates in the world of pro wrestling. When it comes to us, all you got to do is one thing and one thing only. Follow us on our Instagram at Saturday afternoons_main event, our Twitter being Saturday Main, and of course our TikTok, where we also go ahead and post good memes for your enjoyment and entertainment, being at Saturday afternoons ME. But with that being said, look, let's go ahead and get into the ratings. Peeps.
Yes.
Give us the ratings, my friend.
It's funny, since we weren't able to give you the ratings last week, I'll give you last week's ratings, and then I'll go into this week's ratings. But last week, NXT won their ratings showdown, so to speak, with AEW. They did 674,000 viewers with a 0.08 in the demo, where AEW did 653,000, which was a little closer, at with a 0.09 in the demo. And by the way, TNA, their ratings last week, they did 201,000. They went up from the previous week, because the first week was 171,000. They did 201,000 the following week, so they did pretty well. Now, I don't have TNA's ratings for this upcoming week. We'll probably get it later on today or tomorrow. But as far as AEW and NXT's ratings, very close, but AEW actually won this week. 654,000 viewers with a 0.15 in the demo. That's the highest demo number that they've gotten in quite some time.
Right. What was last week's rating?
Last week's rating for AEW, they did 653,000, but they did a 0.09 in the demo. NXT did 629,000 with a .09 in the demo for them.
Well, that's
So
good. They're near, even with these new numbers that we talked about from Nielsen, that they're back approaching the 700 mark again.
Yes.
Well, I mean, now people are starting to say, hey, they're doing different stuff now. Guys are healthy. MJF is back. Clearly a factor, right? Even though we don't have the quarter hours.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes. And also,
of the quarter hours, I think that's what caused AEW to get their first win in the last couple of weeks against NXT, which happened this week. You know, speaking about MJF in his match against Brody King, being squashed in the title eliminator match. Something that I don't think a lot of people expected, being that it's a title eliminator match. You would think that, you know, if Brody King was still, you know, questioned to go over, he would have at least had a lengthy match with MJF, but it turned out that it was a squash. I feel that with that going ahead and going on the IWC, I felt like a lot of fans possibly tuned in just so they can go ahead and see that or the fallout, or if they had backstage interviews after, and they probably stayed throughout the duration of the show, which wasn't a bad show. Another thing, even to that, which was attributing to the mainstream success of this past week's episode, the F Ice chants coming from the fans during that match, which was definitely
completely unedited. Also, you could hear the entire chant on camera,
unedited, uncensored, and even MJF spoke about it, saying, "Hey, we're the company that doesn't censor the fans. You guys get to say whatever you want." So I have to ask, is AEW officially becoming the wrestling promotion that is now known as the voice of the voiceless?
Well, they honestly are anti-everything WWE is, because we know where they stand politically, right?
Of course.
A complete antithesis, which is good to have the opposite. And I'm all for it. Why not?
And promote it the way that you see the difference. And we talked about this, and I know I've brought this up many times, is that AEW doesn't do a great job of promoting certain things. The Brody MJF match was promoted for the last 2 weeks. They did a pretty decent job promoting it on their shows. On Collision, they talked about it. They talked about it on previous episodes of Dynamite. And I think that helped get the interest up for that match. Nobody was expecting a Gonzo Bomb squash. But then again,
I didn't see the match. So you guys are telling me something I did not know about. But now you're thinking about it. And maybe the thought process is, let's get him super over so people have more reason to believe in the rematch when we do get it for the title. And then MJF has to cheat his way to win so he doesn't beat Brody King. And in essence, you're building another star, which people have been talking about. How well is Tony Khan building the people up that have been there for so much?
Especially since the card that this match is going to be for, that AEW World Title match that Brody King is going to get, is going to be at Australia when they do the
AEW Grand Slam.
That AEW Grand Slam. So they needed to build that match, a big enough match, to be the main event for that show. And I think they did a great job.
There's some speculation online that there's a good way to have Brody King lose if Buddy comes back and turns on him.
And we haven't seen him on TV
in Australia.
How long?
A long time. Very, very long time.
Yes.
So we can definitely hope to see what happens with that. Look, we have a couple of weeks left till AEW Grand Slam Australia. So look, let's see what happens. But all in all, that marks the end of the ratings here on Same. Peeps, I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much. But look, guys, we're going to now move into... Chris, you have something to say?
Yeah, real quick. So I want, again, shouting out all the people that watched the watch party last week. Thank you so much for joining us. And do you guys know who Skylar Ray is? She's apparently in developmental, WWE development. Can you see that on my screen here? Can you see
I can see it, yes.
I can see it.
Yes.
Okay. She liked my tweet. So shout out to Skylar Ray in developmental.
Nice.
Cheerleader. Yes.
There you go.
Ain't that something?
Yes.
Look, Same constantly growing by the minute. You love to see it.
Yes.
But within the same sense, we're going to go ahead and move to our question of the week. Of course, guys, if you feel as if you have a question that you can go ahead and send to me, the Peep Snake, and Mr. 411, that you feel as if it's that damn good in the words of Triple H, and you want it on the next week's show, all you got to do is one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event. Send in a question. In the words of the wrestling god, WWE Hall of Famer JBL, I guarantee will be on the next episode of the show. Only if it's that damn good. But our question this week comes from one Long Island Isaiah. And he says, Is LA Knight's long-awaited push now forever in the dust as another missed main event opportunity for the title?
Great question.
Great
question of the month, maybe even of the. I don't want to say question of the year because we're only in February, so that's like question of in a long time. Best question.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
When you think about this man, and I want to tie him into Chelsea Green because as we saw last night, right in that three-way. The crowd was into it. They wanted Chelsea to win that match. They're chanting her name. No one else is getting that reaction. And you know why? Because everyone saw the unreal. Everyone saw the unreal, and they're hating on this booking committee right now that everyone believes is a joke, right? Oh, and now LA Knight is suffering the same problem because they're going to continue to drop the ball. Apparently, we always thought merch mattered, right? Wasn't he the number one guy at some point?
Yup.
They never pulled the trigger on the title with him. And I don't know. Right now, can you factor him into anything right now to where you could see that? No.
I feel like Unreal also killed it the way Triple H was talking to him, which kind of made it look like LA Knight was a bit dumbfounded. It made him look dumb. I don't know. It's just like there's certain things that happen with LA Knight where it's just like, how many more chances are we gonna give the WWE to at least put the strap on him, or at least give him a push? That can show us that they're going to utilize them in the best way possible.
Well, to be fair, I'm sorry to cut you off. To be fair, LA Knight did make a little bit of a mistake in that match that Triple H called him out on. So he wasn't in the right position, or I forget exactly what the situation was in the match where he was
outside the ring during the ladder match, and he was supposed to climb back in fast enough, and he was taking his time. That's what it was.
So he got that wrong, but then later on in that same episode, Triple H did put him over for his facial reaction to the Seth Rollins injury. So it wasn't all negative on LA Knight. But again, going back, again, there's so many people in this company. It's so hard to push everybody. But at the same time, you can't. The fact that the fans are still behind this guy is remarkable. Most fans by now would have been like, "Oh, who cares?" But they
this guy again.
We're still waiting for that LA Knight push. So hopefully, peeps, you can go, man.
This is the one thing that came out of Unreal, and it kind of showcases just how wishy-washy Brian James kind of looks as a booker.
Oh God!
I mean, he looks almost completely clueless. There's certain things that he'll come up with that would make sense, and then there's other times like Triple H, like, okay, you'll have this guy win this. Now what? Oh, we'll have this thing happen. Now what? There was a part that happened where he was talking about what they were going to do with R-Truth. Well, R-Truth wants to cut his hair and go. Why? What is the point of that? And what did Brian James say? I don't know. So why suggest it?
My thing was there were two times that within the Unreal show that I was like, oh, Road Dogg is an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay. One was the Chelsea Green bit where they're gonna put the title on after Chelsea loses it, and he's like,
yes,
I don't know, like possibly
that,
have Chelsea lose
it. That pissed me off to no end.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so if you have Chelsea lose it, who else as a heel are you gonna go ahead and have face for the title? And he's sitting there, he's just like, I don't know. And
as much as I'm a fan of Zelina Vega, there is no way Chelsea should have dropped the belt that soon.
At all.
No, not at all. And that goes back to the point of tying this in with LA Knight, is the fact that LA Knight has had at least 3 almost pushes, to the extent that we've seen. As a matter of fact, we all went to see SmackDown almost 2 years ago at the Garden, and LA Knight showed up. You remember that? We went, and we remember we were wondering, well, where's LA Knight? Where's LA? And LA Knight showed up. He didn't have a match. Nope. He didn't have a promo. He showed up,
and right before the show.
Yeah,
I was scurrying through the.
Yes, and he was so over in that small frame of time. And the thing is, when we see wrestlers get an organic push through the fans, you have to strike while the iron's hot. Very similar to what we saw with Jey Uso, although we know the end result. That only happens because he got over with the fans with his yeeting.
Yeah,
if this was any other time, he wouldn't have been even looked at to get that kind of a push.
I agree.
By the way,
LA Knight right now is at the point where at some point they're going to have to cash in on this push, or it's not going to matter because the fans are going to they're going to not believe in him anymore.
By the way, who's the most organic push of the modern era?
But you know what? You
Yes.
know what? It's funny. R-Truth did say something because he did say that he had a friend in Louisiana a couple of months ago on SmackDown, and his name is pretty much matches the state, and it was LA Knight. Knowing that Money in the Bank is going to be taking place in New Orleans later this year, is then officially the chance that they go ahead and crown LA Knight into that main event picture.
He was supposed to get a push at Money in the Bank last year, and it didn't happen. So what makes anybody think that they're investing in LA Knight, that they're going to believe that he's actually going to go anywhere? Because they've done the same, what I used to call the Kane push-pull system. They push Kane as far as they can, and then they yank the push away from him a month later. Like, at what point do the fans feel that they can invest in LA Knight so that they're going to finally feel some sort of reward that he's doing something? That's on the company and that's on the promotion right now.
I agree.
Maybe there is no reward.
It's the WWE we were talking about.
But I digress.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, peeps. But with that being said, we have now gotten to the final topic. Appreciate you, Long Island Isaiah, for a great question.
Yes.
Guys, you want to ever send in a question and you think it's that damn good like Long Island Isaiah's? Again, send it in on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event. But final topic.
Rich, before we hit that, last night I was just noticing in the Jordan Grace match, as jacked as she is, that chick has the whitest ass of asses. Like, she is like no glutes whatsoever. And I'm just thinking to myself, if you're working out, you should have some kind of glutes. What are you doing, Jordan Grace?
Respectfully speaking, her husband has a lot different to say because that man be hyping it up on social media every single week once we have to see this. So I don't know. Jonathan Gresham.
He loves white girl asses. He doesn't love them thick and plump like
snow bunnies. He loves the vanilla pancakes.
We love our bellies. Listen, give me belly all day with that.
Yeah, he's still on the Cutwater, peeps. He is still on the Cutwater.
Yes.
But look, final topic. All right, we got a couple of minutes. Punk Reigns main event of WrestleMania 42. We saw the promo. We don't have to go ahead and get too much into it. The Punk called him out for having to go ahead and always win with family interferences. Reigns goes ahead and calls him out for the whole shoot interview with Colt Cabana 10 years ago, which he badmouthed WWE. The whole thing of, you're gonna have a handicap match against the Shield. You're gonna go over, but make Roman look strong. But Roman ends it all faithfully saying, I can pick you because you're the greatest star. I can pick you because you're on Netflix, which is the biggest show. But no, I'm picking you because I hate you. WrestleMania is going to be the greatest day of my life because in the main event, you will acknowledge me. It was then reported a week later that we are getting this as the main event of night 2.
Yes.
So, guys, how are we feeling kicking off the road of WrestleMania knowing that Punk and Reigns is the main event of the show? Chris, final thoughts.
I mean, that segment was tremendous. No surprise, right? I mean, you just you can get the popcorn and sit down and enjoy that segment.
Yes,
that's how good it was. Those are two guys that I don't think anyone's writing their script for them. So that's all on them, which is even more, as we say, organic, right?
Yes.
And I am curious to know how much each guy passed through the other guy. Here's what I'm gonna say, because there was some moments where what did Roman say? Punk said something about the family, and Roman said, "Watch your words about my family." And then Roman went after the bracelet.
You wouldn't be here right now.
How about Roman went after the bracelet, the AJ bracelet?
Yup.
Yes.
And Punk fired back. There was a lot of barbs.
It was so perfectly put, and the fact that they started it off with Punk calling out Finn Balor, and Roman saying, "You're interrupting my time talking to Finn." Are you? Do you
Yes.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's great.
Beautiful stuff. And the fact that that's how they scurried into their promo battle against each other was gold. Yes. I know that being that Roman may have some real thin dates from now until WrestleMania, I can't wait till the big shows where those two do come across each other and we have more promo battles.
And
Because we know they're going to get into the high gear.
The things that I liked about it was the fact that Roman made sure throughout the entire promo, he didn't call him Punk. He called him Phil. He made sure that this was Phil I'm talking to. So if you caught that, that's how you know you're building that thin line between kayfabe and actual shoot. And I think that's the way that I think that's the gray area that they want to let this lay as you go forward. But oh man, they don't have to do it every week or every other week. But when they do show up, that's all they can go on.
Just give it to me. I'm fine with that. Like
yes.
I'm genuinely happy with the direction that they're choosing to go here. Of course, this is going to be big. This is going to be something that's going to be talked about from here up until April 19th. And the way that I'm looking at it, many of the tickets are already going ahead and shooting up, and they're doing good. The fact that night 2 tickets are going for $300 in the 100 section is crazy to me. So best believe we're probably going to be expecting a sellout soon within the next couple of months for WrestleMania Sunday.
Right now, capacity for night 2 is only at 43,000, so that's going to change.
Without question.
Because they've only sold 36,000 at the moment. I looked it up this morning.
So currently, we should be hopefully expecting probably around the same number for this year's WrestleMania, depending. It only comes down to what happens from there. But guys, best believe throughout this road of WrestleMania, there's going to be one constant that remains. And that's you guys sitting here with us, enjoying Saturday afternoon's main event. But with that being said, that marks the end of that topic.
Rich, real quick. I just had a thought. And we can talk about it next week. We can leave a teaser. What do we think about Roman Reigns actually coming back as a part-timer, as Punk talked about, winning this Rumble and getting this match versus we just talked about LA Knight and all the other people you could say. Yeah. How do we feel about it?
I genuinely feel like in all ways, and I'm going to allude to this more by next week, but I feel that come WrestleMania, when the dust settles and the smoke clears and that 3 count hits, we're already going to be set up for next year's WrestleMania. And by chance, someone's turning heel. I'll just say that. Okay. I'll just say that.
Yo,
we'll definitely have fun.
Nate, the way they both ripped into Drew the whole promo too was great.
Yes.
Destroy Drew.
Yes. It's layers and layers.
Drew had a lot of good clapbacks last night, though, I have to say.
Yeah, Drew did.
Drew handled it well. He handled it well. Although he came off really a lot, I would say, baby face-ish, but he still handled it well. So I have to say, Mark's.
And I think it's maybe because of the fact that everybody came and beat him up every time he stepped out of into the building. So maybe that's kind of how it made it look like that. But yeah, I can't wait. This upcoming week is going to be really fun.
Yes, I agree. But guys, you hear the theme, you hear the music in the background. It's the end of same. We appreciate you guys for going ahead and tuning in to this episode. What a great episode here with you guys. Whether you were watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate it, you guys. We thank you so much. Tune in next week for what we have to say about what we just talked about, especially when it comes down to Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Guys, tune in for whatever may be going on within the world of professional wrestling from tonight with Collision, easing into next week with Raw, SmackDown, TNA, AEW, and more.
But before we go, I forgot to bring up the Collision rating. Collision did almost 500,000.
What?
They did over 4 and change. Yes. Collision
during the Royal Rumble.
They did, and I just had the number in front of me. I just had it in front of me. Yes.
You leave us with this now. Props to
they
Pink Snake,
did,
ladies and gentlemen.
Corey Richmond just got some baby oil.
Are we really queuing the Diddy Party stuff now? Come on, guys.
Oh, boy.
Let's not do this.
Yes.
Yeah, my laptop is about to die, fellas.
Yeah, I'm saying, peeps.
Yes.
Let's leave it for next week.
We'll leave it for next week, and I'll talk about all of that then. So,
but guys, look, this was saying we're on a phenomenal one.
And I had the peeps Nate.
Mr. 411, or Mr. Cutwater, excuse me. Mr. Cutwater.
Yes, Mr. Cutwater. Yes, Mr. Christoph Cutwater Morton. Where we came,
we saw.
And in the words of the Oracle Paul Heyman,
send us home, peeps.
We conquered.
We conquered, ladies and gentlemen. See you next week for the following episode of Same. Of course, the phenomenal one, Peep Snakes, Mr. 411. This was Same. Peace, love, farewell.